Welcome back to our Bantu history series. In case you are new here, make sure you support us by hitting that subscribe button to receive our future videos.
The history of Black cartographers is often overlooked, but their contributions have been significant in shaping how we understand geography, map-making, and spatial awareness. From the early days of exploration to the modern era, Black cartographers have played key roles in both practical and intellectual advancements in the field of cartography. Early beginnings in the African context. Before the colonial era, African societies had their own systems of mapping and geographic knowledge. These maps, however, were not always in the form of the paper maps that we recognize today. Instead, African cartography was expressed through oral traditions, navigational skills, and cultural symbols embedded in art and architecture. For instance, the Bambara people of Mali used elaborate symbolic designs to represent land divisions, while the Yoruba people in West Africa created maps that helped guide migration and trade routes. These forms of mapping were deeply tied to the culture and needs of the people, focusing on local landscapes and spiritual geography. However, it was during the European colonial expansion that the role of Black people in cartography began to intersect with Western mapping practices, even though their contributions were largely marginalized. Exploration and the era of colonialism. During the age of European exploration in the 15th and 16th centuries, the concept of the New World began to take shape. As European powers like Spain, Portugal, Britain, and France sailed to the Americas, Africa, and Asia, they required maps to navigate unfamiliar territories. While cartography was often dominated by European scholars and explorers, Black people were involved in the process in ways that were often unnoticed or dismissed. One significant contribution was made by African slaves who were brought to the Americas and the Caribbean, many of whom possessed knowledge of the land. These enslaved individuals became invaluable guides to European settlers and explorers. Though not credited with the creation of the maps, their input and knowledge about local terrain, rivers, and coastlines were crucial in the navigation of uncharted areas. The rise of Black cartographers in the 19th century. The 19th century saw the rise of formal education and professionalization of cartography, but it was also a period of extreme racial discrimination, with Black people often excluded from academic and professional spheres. Despite these barriers, some remarkable Black cartographers emerged during this time. One such figure was Matthew Henson, an African-American explorer and cartographer who worked alongside Robert Peary during their expeditions to the North Pole in the early 1900s. Henson's expertise in navigation and map-making was critical to the success of these expeditions. While Peary received most of the recognition for the achievement, Henson's contributions to mapping the Arctic regions remain underappreciated. Henson's work with Peary was part of a broader tradition of African Americans contributing to the exploration of the American frontier. African American mapmakers such as William C. Matthews, a cartographer and publisher in the 19th century, were responsible for producing some of the most detailed maps of American cities, notably in the state of Pennsylvania. Matthews, along with his contemporaries, was part of a larger movement of Black intellectuals who sought to engage with science and mapping despite the constraints of racial inequality. The 20th century, professionalization and recognition. The 20th century saw a slow but steady increase in the recognition of Black individuals in fields like cartography, geography, and science. Though the racial segregation of the early part of the century created significant barriers to entry, a number of African American mapmakers and geographers found ways to contribute to the field, especially in relation to civil rights movements and urban planning. One of the most well-known figures in this period is Dr. John Wesley Cromwell, an African American geographer and cartographer. Cromwell's work in the early 20th century helped establish African American scholarship in geography, and he was a vocal advocate for the inclusion of Black perspectives in cartography. His scholarship focused not only on physical geography, but also on the social and political aspects of mapping, particularly in relation to the African American experience. Another notable figure was Evelyn M. Pruitt, who became the first African American woman to work as a cartographer for the U.S. Army during World War II. Her work in creating military maps for the United States helped facilitate the success of the Allies in the European theater. Pruitt's story is emblematic of the vital roles that Black women played in supporting military and governmental operations through cartography and geography. Contemporary Black cartographers. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, Black cartographers continue to make significant contributions to the field, bringing new perspectives to issues like urban planning, climate change, and political mapping. One of the most well-known contemporary figures is Dr. Mark C. Schmidt, an African-American geographer and cartographer whose work focuses on environmental justice and mapping the effects of climate change in marginalized communities. Schmidt's work highlights the importance of Black voices in understanding how environmental issues disproportionately affect people of color. Additionally, Dr. Carla A. Jackson, a prominent African-American scholar, has made significant contributions to the study of the intersection of race and cartography. Her work focuses on how maps can be used to tell stories about power, identity, and social justice. Conclusion: the contributions of Black cartographers, both historically and in contemporary times, have played an essential role in shaping the world we navigate today. Despite enduring racial prejudice and systemic barriers, Black individuals have consistently pushed the boundaries of cartography, offering new perspectives on geography and spatial understanding. While many of their contributions were not fully recognized in their time, their legacies continue to influence the field of cartography, ensuring that the narratives we create through maps are more inclusive, diverse, and representative of global experiences.
That is all we had for you today. Please subscribe, like, and comment. Thanks for watching. We will see you on the next one.